Greetings, adventurers! I am thy dungeon master, and welcome again to Pathfinder Banter. Dragons! We're back and we're talking about dragons again. These righteous representatives of the reptilian race cannot be ignored. Their power and majesty are truly unexplainable, or their devious malcontent are stuff for the ages. Now last week, we went over the chromatic dragons.
The savage white, the manipulative blue, the cunning green, the sadistic black, and the tyrannical red.
Tiamat's favorite children.
But that's not all the dragons. When the dragon god Apsu came into this world, the Metalic Dragons were deemed his greatest followers. The Metalic Dragons are paragons of their individual alignments. All of them good, all of them heroic, though some less than others. Some are more prone to guiding those and shepherding them away from evil, while others would just rather rip them to shreds. Some are very dogmatic in their approach, while others are a little bit more forgiving. Nonetheless, Metalic Dragons are awesome. Now let's start with the Brass Dragon. Brass Dragons are the socialites of the Metalic Dragons, and of dragonkind in general. Truth be told, they're probably the easiest to converse with. They'll actually seek it out, unlike many other secluded dragons, which is odd given the fact that they like to live in deserts. Often competing for territory with blues, they maintain really large social networks, though unlike blues, they do it for social reasons rather than to maintain a list of contacts that they can later manipulate or destroy. A lot of the history or knowledge about dragons is usually gleaned from what a brass dragon told somebody, whether it's true or not. All a brass wants to do is be your friend. He'll often play the buffoon or kind of an idiot in order to kind of set you at ease. But don't be mistaken, this is merely a ruse in order to set you a little bit more relaxed. He's still a dragon, which means he's monumentally intelligent. Even as a hatchling, he still has a higher intelligence than a human. All said, brass dragons are really friendly and kind of sappy in certain instances. They'd much rather curl up with a really cute romance novel.
50 Shades of Dragon. Twilight of the Dragons. The Lusty Lizard Lady. Copyright pending.
Now where was I? Oh yeah! Brass dragons are very emotional and can sometimes be manipulated. But remember, all they really want to be is your friend. And to have one as an ally means to have one of the most well-connected beings in the region as your friend. The Copper Dragon. Copper dragons are kind of bizarre among other dragons as they're incredibly flighty. Someone called them aloof, even though that is kind of an understatement. Ultimately, they are freedom fighters, true representatives of the chaotic good alignment. They represent freedom in its purest form. They believe that freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Coppers are easily motivated by threats against evil, and they often will go to great lengths to follow you and to accompany you on this mission, and they will almost never want to lead. They'd much rather be followers and aid the cause rather than initiate the cause. You can often find a copper in an area where slavery is very common, or when a tyrannical dictator is in place. Indeed, when Cheliax took power, a lot of coppers gathered under the banners of freedom fighters in order to fight for the cause. Now, the problem with coppers, like I said earlier, is that they can be kind of flighty or aloof. If you're not motivated enough about the subject, chances are the copper isn't gonna be either. Or if you don't get right to the fighting, he might just up and leave. Now, he's not abandoning you, he just thinks that maybe you're not taking it seriously enough. To have a copper as a friend is to have one of the greatest freedom fighters in the world fighting for yours. The Bronze Dragon. Bronze dragons are anomalies among dragonkind. Now, most dragons can be misconstrued as somewhat antisocial, aside from the brass, of course. But the bronze is incredibly strange in the sense where they like to hide out mostly alone and for really long stretches of time. They're scholars ultimately, recorders, lore masters. Much of what is known about draconic history was originally penned down by bronze scribes. A bronze dragon is incredibly intelligent, more so than any other. A bronze dragon is really inquisitive. He wants to learn, to study, to gather and amass as much knowledge as possible, usually in the form of vast libraries. In fact, its hoard is often made up of rare books or scrolls. Now, ultimately, A bronze dragon is a guardian. If you give a bronze dragon your secret or a treasure, he would rather die than betray that trust. To have a bronze as a bodyguard is to have one of the most dangerous bodyguards you can have watching your back. Who needs a mighty ogre with a double great axe when you have a bronze dragon watching your back? To have a bronze as a friend is to have both an inquisitive friend and also one who would rather die than betray you. The silver dragon. Silvers are paladin dragons. They're steadfast justicars, fighting against evil wherever it can be found. Wherever a silver is, you can venture a guess that there's evil not far away, and it's its prey. The speed and agility of a silver rival that of the most powerful or most agile of any dragon alive, or any being alive for that matter. Silver dragons can always be found in a location where evil is most present, so in terms of the Pathfinder universe, usually can be found around the World Wound, where an opening to the Abyss has breached our plane. Silver dragons are often the reason you won that battle. To have a silver dragon fighting alongside you is to have the reason you won the battle. Think of a silver as Gandalf riding in on Helm's Deep, except he's alone, and you'll have an idea. A silver dragon isn't necessarily going to be your friend. His rigorous code prevents you of such. Silver dragons live by a very strict and martial code, often brought about from as soon as they're hatchlings. However, due to these codes, silvers can be very rigorous. To have a silver dragon as a friend is to count a very steadfast and merciful, but ultimately powerful ally. And finally, the gold dragon. The gold dragon is bar none the most powerful and the most intelligent dragon on the face of Galarian. Golds are the ultimate paragons of goodness, benevolence, and holiness. A gold dragon is a guide, is a mentor, is a friend. Even for dragons, they have some of the most extensive lifespans. They can often be found in the wide open areas. They're relatively easy to find if you know where to look. Often the reason why, though, is because they don't really mind being found, as they have nothing really to worry about. A gold is the best strategist you can really ask for. Really, the only reason that a gold dragon's plan would ever fail is due to the error of those who attempted to act it out. Gold dragons prefer rather to be mentors and guides than to engage in direct conflict. However, should they ever do actually engage in combat, then you have righteous fury in action at its fullest. In order to avoid such conflict, a gold would rather bring both parties together and try and work out terms to ensure that war never breaks out. Indeed, many wars have been avoided simply because a gold intervened. To have a gold as your friend is to have not only one of the most powerful beings alive, but also one of the most honest, true, and good beings alive acting as your friend. Now those are the chromatic and the metallic dragons, great paragons of justice and virtue, or terrors worthy of your fear or reverence. Now remember, DMs, another little fun fact about dragons. All dragons can shapeshift, which means they can take the form of really any humanoid race. Often they take the form of elves as to kind of disguise their longevity. Elves have really long lifespans, see. So players, that means you might have met a dragon and not even known who he was. Thanks, and this was Pathfinder Banter. I am thy dungeon master. Subscribe below if you like what I said, and I hope to see you again next week when we talk about the alignment grid.
Coming up soon.
I'm going to be getting some of my players together in front of the camera and are going to give you a quick synopsis of who their characters are, what they're all about, strengths, weaknesses, who they are in general. Now make sure you check out our live stream where you get to watch thy dungeon master in action. Fight well and happy gaming.